welcome to everybody that's watching on Facebook, whether you're watching live or on record. It's nice to see everybody here this morning. As you can see, we're joined by a number of key people in the Breton Eagles organization. On the left, we have our majority shareholder and owner, Irwin Simon. In the middle is Sylvain Couturier, and Assistant General Manager John Hanna is here on the right, Sylvain General Manager. So they're going to be taking some questions and some comments as well. I know people submitted questions, and Brad's going to go through that a little bit later, but we're going to talk about the general state of the team as well, so it's always nice to get an update from those up top. So it's nice that Irwin's in town, because I know Irwin doesn't get here all the time, but he's here this morning. So Irwin, we're obviously through 24, 25, and the new season's just around the corner. What are your thoughts in the past year? What was good? What was bad? What are your takeaways from the last season?
Well, good morning. Nice to see everybody. Good to be in Cape Breton. I think it's like, 70 degrees today. Wow. I don't think I've ever been here in May when it was 70 degrees. Michelle told me it snowed, I think, yesterday. Anyway, I brought good weather. Listen, and I just spent the last hour with the team talking about the season. I had breakfast with Louis this morning. And, I think with mixed emotions, number one, he's leaving. Louis was great for us. Brought a lot of good things to this team, discipline, good instruction, connected with the players. And, he's moving on and got a great offer, which secures a lot with his family. So and I want to thank Louis for everything he did for the Eagles. And his family is staying in Cape Breton. So, they say a lot of people never wanted to come to Cape Breton, but that has changed a lot. Let's talk about the season, the good, the bad. Number one, we started off, we lost 6 games in a row. And trust me, Sylvain and I and John and Matt had lots of discussions. If we would have lost 10 in a row, what would happen? But thank God we didn't have to get there. When you lose 6 in a row, momentum. And, look what happened to Toronto Maple Leafs. They won their first 2, lost the next 3, and, what happened there. We won, 34 games this year? We won 39 the year before. We scored, I think, more goals this year than we did last year. Sylvain can correct me because we have a meeting on stats. We went to, we went to 3 rounds last year. This year we are the quarterfinals. So am I ecstatic about this year? No. Did I think we had, a good year? Yes, we had a good year. From the business side, our fan attendance was up dramatically. Our sponsorship was up dramatically. Our involvement with the community was up dramatically. So I feel real good about that. Interesting because as I was sitting with them, we already have over 20 applicants for the Cape Breton job. And we have not been out there. We've not been out there talking, soliciting. We've not hired, a coaching recruiter yet. And we have 20 real good applicants. So, I'm happy where we are. But it was an okay season, to be honest and blunt about it. And I think whether Louis was staying or leaving, my plan was to be here this week to sit down and strategically look at the team. I'm big into analytics. I'm big into how we understand the goals scored on us, what goals we scored, our penalty, our goalies, and how we're going to win. The whole thing about hockey has changed dramatically, and that as we go through the coach today, the big thing is this here. Every 3-4 years, the players are rotating here. And, when is the year you go for it? When is the year you're building? It's changed a lot now that you can, there's 3 Europeans we can, go ahead and draft. With the NCAA rule, there's lots of changes out there. And I have committed to invest in this team, to work with Sylvain and John in regard to go out there and recruit Europeans, to go out there and recruit the right Americans. But the most important thing, we're part of the CHL, is to have a base of our Canadian players. And that's what I never want to see, is that we're all Europeans or all Americans and whatever. We got a lot to work with. And I wouldn't tell you the number right now, but the number that I put forth to these guys that I'd like to win next year. And what I'm told is 45 wins is a team that usually is in the finals. And that's not the number I put out there, trust me. If it was, Sylvain might get up and walk out. So we got a lot of work to do today to talk about our plans. It's interesting, hockey season's over, but it's just beginning for this group in regards to getting ready for the draft, which is June 4th, June 4th and 5th, and getting ready for that. Also, right now, it's a European draft and looking for the Europeans to come in here, and also from the American League. So, with that, a lot of work to do. But Cape Breton is a team that's not going to be reckoned with. We're going to hire a great coach. Assistant coaches we'll have in place. And we're going to put forth a very strong team for next year. Is it the year to go for it? It's too early for us, to where we are.
Just building on that, Sylvain, people will want to hear your take on things. You were here the whole year, obviously. What do you think went right and what went wrong this year?
Well, I think, to follow up a little bit what Irwin said, we play catch-up hockey all year. Our start of the season was in what we expect, obviously, and that changed a little bit of the plan for the Christmas as well. You always like to sit down at Christmas, look at where your team's at, and how aggressive as a buyer you're going to be. This year was, we're one game behind 500 mark. It was a little bit tougher to be really aggressive on it and sacrifice a lot of good asset for the future of the organization. So that being said, I think we went and got a guy like Brown who finished in the top 2 defense in our team. Cornway was probably the biggest surprise of all. Gendron played in the top 6 minutes for us. We went and get some depth guy in Plord and Guy. So we did, buy with, trying to be smart about how we were doing things. Why is this team lost in the first round when 14 or 15 players were there last year when we went to the Final Four? Again, I think the ups and downs all years was probably the reason. We were not consistent all year, and it catch up to us, and we paid a big price for it. Now, we look at the future of the team, and to follow up on Irwin's comment. I mean, Louis was here for 2 years, did a lot of good things for the organization. I personally, I like to thank him for what he did and what he's done, and he made a personal decision for his future, for his career, and we have to respect that. And I hope everything will turn out really well for him and for his family. But now it's time for us to look forward and see who's going to be our next coach. I think that will be a priority before the draft to start talk to a few candidates. And we're now early right now with the draft coming up. I think it's going to start probably this week, but then it's going to be announced, or we should, or like to announce our head coach before July 1st. Obviously, I think that's a date that we should have in mind. And but like I said, the season was not what we planned, obviously, and now we have to look for the future and next year. And we're very pleased where we're at with our young players and what's coming up.
I think people, if they're watching this, they're probably expecting to hear a lot about the coaching. And Irwin, you've been with the Eagles now for a number of years, and of course, turnover is a big part of junior hockey. So a coaching search is nothing new for you. It's the 4th time since you've come into Cape Breton in the ownership role. How are you going to approach this hiring process maybe differently than previous ones?
So, as I go on my Chat GBT or I go on, my AI, in the NHL, 2.3 years is the longevity of an NHL coach. And you see what, happened with the Rangers. You see what happened, with NHL teams. So that's number one. Number two is I think we're the breeding ground for the future NHL coaches, because if you can coach junior hockey and coach these 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds, they're the future NHL stars, and that's what NHL teams are looking for. And listen, I think since I've been here, Louis got an incredible offer. Other coaches, it just didn't work out. Some were personal reasons why they didn't stay here, wanted to go back, and their family didn't move here. But with our search today for a coach, I think it's real important today to have a coach that's based and understands all the hockey fundamentals. We're big on analytics and understanding the whole analytics of the game. We're big on a team, today is May 16th and 15th. Hopefully, if, we're playing 1 year in May 15th, okay? If you're starting in August and still playing May 15th, boy, you better be in shape. So that's a big thing today as a team, being able to be in good shape, and training camp starts in August. It's somebody that's committed to the Cape Breton community. They're moving here with their family like Louis did, okay? It's hard not to have your family here and still be, not be part of the community. So we need someone that's going to be part of the community, work in the community, and get out there and carry the flag for the Eagles. And that is what's important for us to find within a coach. And it's important also that someone understands the CHL or the Q. And today, having 4 kids, you got to connect. These are not NHL players; they're future NHL stars. You got to connect with these boys today. They're 16 years old, okay? And it's the maturation. It's being that away from home father, mother, at the same time being their coach. And don't forget, they're coming here. What's important for us, not only the coach, is they really got to get good hockey training. They really got to get good schooling, which is real important. We got to keep them healthy, and that is with their workouts, their training, their yoga workout. Our healthcare system, listen, our medical staff was great. And last but not least, the billets here. We have one of the most incredible, billet group that house these players, and it's amazing when I see how close our players get to their billets. And the players talk to each other and tell them how great it is in Cape Breton. So what we need is a coaching staff, and not only we're looking for a head coach as assistant coach and maybe 2 assistant coaches, but is really to bring all this together. Being on the ice, and our guys travel 25,000 miles a year on that bus, and in the meantime they're doing a lot of homework and they're away from home. So we need a strong person really to build the team all around, not only on the ice, not only in practice, pushing them on education, pushing them with their billets, and pushing them to come together as a team.
Yeah, nice to hear about some unsung heroes in the organization, but of course we are talking about coaching, and should note as well, Nick McNeil decided to step down in the assistant coach role. So Sylvain, you're in the process of hiring a new head coach and a new assistant coach. Just tell us how that's gone so far, what that process looks like.
Well, like everyone said, we Louis' announcement came on Friday, and we're surprised by the number of quality coach that apply on the job so far, and it just started. We're up to 20. Sorry about that.
Wonder what that was.
We're up
That's
to
a coach calling for the job, okay?
we're up to at least 20 coaches that wants to come here, and like I said, there's some very good quality guys that apply on the job. So we're very surprised, and we're very happy about that. So I'm not worried about the next coach. I think we're gonna have definitely quality guys. The criteria that we're looking. Irwin just mentioned it. They have to be good communicator with the young players that we got. Today, we're talking about young men that are 16 to 20 years old. He's going to have to obviously go through the analytic of hockey. It's a big thing today. So we know what we're looking for. We got the profile that we want. and I guarantee you that we're going to find a good quality coach for this organization.
And John, I know you'd be involved in that process as well. You're probably already nose deep in resumes at this point. What can you tell us about some of the resumes you've received? And I guess it's probably for the assistant coaching job as well.
Well, like we mentioned about the quantity of resumes we received, what stands out for me is the quality. We have so many good candidates that I think on any given day, any organization would be comfortable with, what fits all some of the criteria that we talked about up here. But without giving away any names, we are very excited to get going with the interview process, because we know that these candidates can bring a lot to the table for us, and we know that it's exactly what we're looking for in an organization. So we're pleased with that, and I can't remember in my time here having as many quality opportunities to pick a coach, and we think we're going to have a good one for sure.
Exciting times, and as you've all been talking about, the QMJHL draft is coming up, and this is as big a weekend as there is for general managers. Sylvain, what's the approach coming into the draft, and what will it look like for your team?
We know that it's a good draft year. There's a lot of depth in the draft. It's not every year that you can say that you're going to pick a guy in the 4th or 5th round and you'll be 100% guarantee. There's no guarantee, but you know he's going to have a good chance to make the team. That's the kind of draft that we got this year. Sometime after the 2nd round, you scratch your head and you're like, okay, we'll take a chance on this guy, It's not the case this year. It's really a deep draft. It's probably the deepest draft I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years. So obviously our focus will be to draft the right guy at the right when our turn comes. We don't have a 1st round pick as of today. I'm not saying that we won't, but there's no guarantee that again. But I like the draft this year, and I think it will be a good draft for the future of the organization, and we'll try to get as many picks as we can and do what we have to do to build something solid. 2 or 3 years were amazing. We got players, like Sam Boye, who was the first guy who had 80 points in midget in Quebec in the last 7 years. We got the MVP in Nova Scotia and Jacob Artland. We got the MVP in New Brunswick and Sam Roca. We got quality players coming up, thanks to our scout. I think our scouts are doing a tremendous job, and I'm so confident in these guys that we're going to come up out of the draft with an excellent draft against this year.
And I think, just to go back to Sylvain's point, what the difference is here, Pat, is the infrastructure that's around the Eagles today. How many years in hockey?
25.
25. John?
I can't count.
Okay. And you're a teacher. Joey, Melissa, these guys here. So what I am excited about today, and you asked me what's different, is the infrastructure behind the team today. And you think about it, what they have done. So from a standpoint here in the selection of a coach today. How many scouts do we have out there?
We got 6 scouts, and
Part-time? How many part-time scouts we got?
3 or 4.
So there's, and they're out there, and you just came back from a midget showcase. So the draft is not going up and make sure you get the lucky number or the person is there before. The work that is done to know on every player. And, I was upstairs before just looking at it and what's laid out. I mean, not that I'm going to show you, but there's a whole strategic plan, all the years behind this that goes into the work. What year 1, 205, 206, 206, 207, 207, 208. I hope I'm alive all those years. But my point is this here. There's a lot of work that goes into this, okay? And what's important to recognize for Eagles fans is the experience that we now have within this organization to be able to go do that. And to be able to come back and say, if we don't get these draft choices, what we have out there. And the draft is not about going to Quebec for those 2 days and hope we get the right numbers. the work that's being done throughout the year with the 6 teams. And that's the thing with the Eagles now, what we've invested in, and they're full-time scouts out there, what we've invested in to put the infrastructure in place to bring the players. You know, the players got to play once you bring them to the ice. You know, the horse got to drink the water, but they got to be thirsty and hungry to do that, and that's what's important.
Sorry, if I may add to, Irwin today was saying that he was going to invest in the team. We just hired.
Well, not start to invest. I've invested. Whoa.
Put more money. Sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry about that. But that being said, we just hired a new scout in the U.S. We got a new scout in Ontario for free agent. I can tell you already that we're going to have at least 5 or 6 guys coming from Ontario. That's what the investment that Irwin did in the scouting, and I think that's the base of our organization. The scouting is so important, and we'll see the result soon. But we're one of the few teams that right now has got a scout in the U.S. and in Ontario. And when training camp starts, like I said, you'll see there's a lot of free agents going to come from Ontario and from the States. So I'm excited about that.
We're talking about trades. People are going to wonder about the first round. John, from your perspective, how much are you trying to get into that first round?
Well, you know what? I think you have to be careful with that sometimes because, as Sly said, the draft is so deep. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to move up, and if you're going to move up, it better be darn worth your while. And most teams that are picking high in the draft don't want to give up those high draft picks without you having to offer them a lot. So I don't think, and next year when you look at the draft picks we've got 2 first-round picks next year and 2 second-round picks next year. It would have to make an awful lot of sense for Sly to make a move like that, especially because, when you look at our core of prospects, we're in really good shape. We know what we have, and so it's not an urgency, but and anyone who knows Sly, and nothing's off the table. If the right offer comes like anybody else, whether it's a player or a draft pick, he's going to listen, and we're going to discuss it, and he's going to make a decision. But I think, if we had to pick right now through our draft picks, we're very comfortable with that, where we're picking.
Well, regarding trades, Sly, has there been much discussion about trades? Obviously, if you've made trades, you can't tell us that, but maybe have any trades been completed? And if not, how much discussion has there been ahead of the draft with trades?
There's discussion every day. Obviously, you look at what we got for next year. We're going to be a young group of forwards, especially up front. We got a lot of young guys coming up. So we think that maybe had a 19 years old will be good for that mix of players, help them out, to start the season and, help the group throughout the season. So there's like I said, there's always stock. We got 7 overages. We're only allowed 3. So obviously we have to shop around to see if there's any demand for overages. So yeah, every day there's stock and discussion with the teams, and hopefully, like John just said, you have to be a win-win situation for both teams, and I believe that that's possible. That we're gonna have a few trades to announce before or at the draft.
I know you're optimistic, as you mentioned, with the 3 ladies coming out of Quebec, New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia. What else can you tell us about the prospect pool? You're obviously going to be adding draft picks, but about the guys that are already in the organization as prospects.
Well, like I said, we got Roca. I mentioned Roca, Hartland, and then Boyer. But you got a guy like Sharon came last year. Completely different players. He's all about grit, and he's the guy that could be a fan favorite by the end of his career because he's bringing a lot to the table. He's a blue collar type of player, and he's gonna play hard every night. We know that. The same thing goes for Andrews. That surprisingly, he scored 27 or 28 goals in the midget this year, but he's all about the same way. Play hard, play the same way, play 200 feet games. We're very, very pleased with the players that are coming up, obviously, and we're excited. It's the first time in 25 years that I got 3 MVP in each different league in midget in the same organization. Again, credit to our scout. They're doing the hard work during the winter time and scout these guys, but it's a first for me that Sam Boyer and Sam Roca and Jacob Hartland, our MVP in each and different league. And, like I said, the credit come back to the scouting, and that's what we were saying. Like Irwin said, it's a strong team we got here. It's a strong organization, and that's the living proof of it.
And if I can just add to that, Pat, one of the things that we're very happy with our forward core of prospects is the fact that we have balance. We have offensive skill guys, but yet we've got the gritty Cape Breton, dig-in type players. And another guy you didn't even mention on that long list was Maverick Duhaime, who won the TELUS Cup here 2 years ago. He's the type of player that fits that role with Anders and Sharon and these guys. So to have that mix is really important. You can't be all one or the other, and I think that's probably the best balance we've had in a long time.
Well, John, you would have a good feel on those guys, and you've been on the road with Sly, scouting as well. What do you anticipate from the 2025 draft class for this year coming? Do you think we'll see many of this year's draftees make the jump and be on this year's team?
Well, it's going to be up to them. And it depends what players we pick at what position. Obviously there's going to be a lot of competition for our young forwards that we already have. So any forward coming in is going to have to compete like everybody else. The physical strength and where they're going to play is obviously something that has to be taken into consideration. And after the draft and hiring a new coach and all meeting together, those decisions will be made. But at the end of the day, more often than not, it's how are you going to perform, and is it going to be the best for your development as a 16-year-old? And that's tough to sell sometimes. To tell a 16-year-old they have to go back to play U18 or play Junior A. They've been the best their whole lives. Sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow.
Drake Batherson played Junior A at 17, so that can be a winning route. Sylvain, Irwin had mentioned earlier the 3 Europeans. I think that's a really big change. How do you approach that? Was that something you were caught off guard with? For most of the year, I'm sure your team, every other team in the league, was waiting to draft 2 Europeans. How do you approach 3 Europeans? Uncharted territory, I guess.
Well, it's been discussed for a while. It was voted at the members' meeting. Yeah, again, it's all about contacts, about who he knows, and I can tell you right now that I'm excited about the draft coming up. It's a draft. We have discussion with the agent. We have discussion about players that we want. Obviously, are they going to be there when number 30 and 91 come? Because that's the pick we got. We hope so. But we already got a few guys targeting at those numbers, and we just hope that they're going to be there. Like I said, it's a draft, so somebody can pick them before us. Hopefully not. But like I said, discussion have been made with the agent, and we're confident that we're going to have 2 good European coming in this year.
We talked about the scouting trips as well. I know, John, you were there with Sylvain down in the States. What do you expect in terms of not just American draft picks, but American free agents for the coming years? Is that going to be something that's prominent with the makeup of next year's team?
Well, I think everybody's in the U.S. free agent game since the change. And have competition. They have the USHL, but now the players that wanted to come to the CHL especially, it becomes very appealing to them. So Sly and I have gone down to the States. We've received many contacts from agents, and we like what we've seen down there. We have some free agents committed already to come to camp and do their thing. Some older, some younger, which is a good sign. And we expect to have an international flair to our roster this year. And of course, like Irwin said, we're going to be strong Canadian content, but we're going to have a little more international flair this year.
Well, it's going to be exciting to see what the team looks like, for sure. These guys have laid the framework down. So, Irwin, having heard all that and what you know, working in the office and whatnot, what kind of team do you expect the Eagles to have next year?
So, what do I expect? Listen, if I was the owner of the Maple Leafs, I wouldn't be expected to be down 3-1 and ending up where I am. It's not easy to win, okay? And there is a lot of good competition out there, and there is, a lot of smart people in the junior hockey league because everybody wants to make the NHL. What am I expecting? Again, and I said it before, the difference here now is the experience of those going out there on the draft and to make the decisions, okay? And as, the majority owner, I'm willing to invest as we have in the team and, how do we get those right players? And hopefully it all comes together and we end up, winning more games than we did this year, and, get to, you take each round at a time. Important, and I want to thank the fans, because the fans, to me, are always the seventh player on the ice. Our sponsors are very important to us. And the Eagles to the community. Like last night when I got off the plane, I walk in, what's the first thing you see at Sydney Airport? Is the Eagles. So it's, first of all, the Eagles belong to, Cape Breton, and I thank everybody for supporting us, and I need that support. We need to see bums in the seats. And we have a meeting with City Hall later to talk to them about what we can continuously do to upgrade, Center 200, what else we can do here to make this just a better arena. And that helps bring coaches, players, and that where they're playing at and where they're practicing at, the dressing room. So that's number one. Number two, listen, you got to have the players. You got to have the coach. But you need some luck too. And I think with that, if it all comes together, and I'll tell you, we will go out and draft. We'll go out and try to recruit some of the best Europeans. We will find the best coach. And if everybody stays healthy, and that's a key too, I think we could have a real exciting year next year. But I'll tell you what, it's not going to go out without trying, because, I'm lucky enough to work with a lot of great people. And the thing about Cape Bretoners, they want to win. And I'm not here to disappoint them by not winning.
Winning, obviously, the goal all the time. There's substantial turnover from last year. Sylvain, you were talking about you can only hold on to so many of the 19-year-olds. Given that, what holes are you looking to fill coming into next season, whether it's through the draft, whether it's through trading, or maybe even free agency?
Well, I think we talked about it already. We got some good young players coming up, obviously, and as mentioned, we got to look maybe to add a veteran in that group, because these kids going to need help. But the talent is we can. Talent-wise, we're going to be as talented as the team we were this year. Now it's all about the experience. But we're confident that we're going to have a great year next year. We're like Irwin said, if you ask me how many wins we were going to like, 64 wins. But we all know it's not going to happen. But we want to win every game. That's the point. And we're in for the win. And I said that first day I got here, and it's still the same. I'm here to win a championship. There's no doubt in my mind. I want to bring a championship to Cape Breton, and that's my goal. It's still my goal, and hopefully before the end, it will be a dream for me to lift the trophy here in the center ice and move on.
They paved Charlotte Street not only for the traffic, they paved it for a ticker tape parade for the Cape Breton Eagles, okay, to come down there.
That is what we're all hoping for, and obviously we don't know what next year's team is going to look like as of yet. But John, from what you know about what there is in place and what could come through the draft and free agency and whatnot, how confident are you that next year's group could eventually grow into a championship core?
Well, I think the core is the most exciting part of this team, talent-wise and ability-wise, and with the depth draft coming up and free agents that we have lurking, not to mention the European draft. I'm very confident that we are in the right direction. Obviously, there'll be tweaks along the way. But if our core is as exciting going forward as we think they're going to be, it's going to be a different style team probably in the next year or two. A little more talent, a little more offense probably once these guys get their experience and get their feet under them. But I have every reason to believe that this core group can do a lot of damage in the next couple of years, starting next year.
Well, fans have probably heard enough of my questions, so we'll hand it off to Brad. Hopefully Brad is a good orator. You can hear his voice because he's going to ask some questions from the live stream, or maybe questions that are pre-submitted. So take it away, Mr. Brad.
Yeah, just a few questions here, guys. First question is, they're asking if does the change in head coach change anything about how you've seen the team next year in terms of a rebuild, a retool, going for it?
I think I'll start.
Yep.
And first of all, listen, I always say this here. I've, in my businesses, I have lots of people that work for me. And people leave sometimes for better opportunities. and Louis left for a better opportunity. So with that, you look at the opportunity to hire, you know, and I would say a better coach. What's the coach? So, you know, I saw, you know, in my favorite paper, the Cape Breton Post, 4 years, 4 coaches and stuff like that. You know, it's not that coaches are running away from us. It's because they get opportunities and they move on just like players do, okay? And for us, the opportunity for us is then to build upon the next coach. And I think that's what's important for us is, number one, we are the opportunity to build upon it. And, you know, what will the team look like? You know, I can't wait till we're sitting here in August and we're sitting here looking at training camp. And I think that's going to be the big thing is who we have, you know, coming to training camp and who's coming back. We have certain opportunities to trade players and stuff like that. But there's lots of options and levers for us to pull out there. Sylvain?
Yeah, I think we know what we got as a group, as the player. Now we have to find, it's our job, it's our job to find the right fit for the group we got. And as I've mentioned many times, a lot of good quality coach that apply on the job, and I'm confident that we're going to find the right coach for the players, that the group of players that we got, and we're going to be moving forward with that guy. And I'm not worried for a second about that. We're going to have the right guy for the right job.
Some fans are curious if assistant coach Matt Anthony is in consideration for head coach.
Matt will be interviewed for the head coach job for sure. I think he deserves it. He's been here for 6 or 7 years now. He certainly deserves a chance to, you know, to sell his pitch, have a pitch shell for him. And he's one of the guys that we're going to go through the interview for sure. I think as mentioned, a chance for the job, and he will have his chance to sell himself, and we'll go from there.
And listen, continuity with the team is always good. He knows Cape Breton. He doesn't have to move here. So, you know, it like Sylvain said, if Matt will absolutely get an interview, and, you know, we want Matt to stay with the organization.
Of the 20 applicants you guys received, how many of them are well experienced?
It's funny because you'll be surprised about some of them, the experience that they bring to the table. We got all kinds of applicants that apply on the job, but experience is not an issue. There's many of them have plenty of experience, either in junior level or at the pro level. And when I said pro level, obviously I'm talking about American League, some NHL a little bit, but there's different kind of experience that these guys can bring. But we got many guys that apply with a lot of experience.
And I think that's where we come back and say this here. Do we take some risk? There's quite a few assistant coaches in the Q and the CHL that apply, that have been with some good teams. So are they ready for a head coach? Just like Matt, ready for a head coach. And then as Sylvain said, there's guys out there that have been associated with NHL teams or have coached, you know, within the NHL or been assistant coaches in the NHL with the experience. So I think that's ultimately the decision. Do we take a little risk and promote an assistant coach that really knows the Q and has been there, is ready to step up? Or do we go with someone that's got that experience? And at the end of the day, it's who can connect better with the players.
Just final question here, guys. You mentioned a lot of the prospects coming up are forwards. Going into this year's draft, the Euro draft, and just the Q draft, is there anything specific you're looking for in terms of a hole to fill on the team? Are you looking specifically for goalies, forwards, defensemen?
No, we always go with the best player available usually. Obviously, you know, if you got a D and a forward and you kind of hesitate between the two, right now our priority will probably be a defenseman at that point in the draft. But definitely if we think that the forward is way ahead of the defenseman, we're not going to just draft a defenseman because we're in need of the defenseman. Like I said, the draft will be really deep before the draft, and we already talked with our scout. Yeah, we're going to take probably the best player available when our turn comes.
But I think, listen, at the end of the day, it all starts, you got to have a good goaltending. And, you know, you do have that in Malota. And, you know, we need goal scorers and then defense. And I think that's a big thing is, you know, there's, whether it's Newcomb's, you know, if Squires comes back, we got some holes to fill on goal scorers. And I think between the two of them, what was it, 60 goals last year they scored?
Yeah.
And, but you know, the year before that, you know, who you replaced what? Who were the goal scorers the year before?
We replaced Ivan.
Ivan, who was a big goal scorer, and so that is the thing here when you got a 30, 35, you know, goal scorer. You got to go out and find someone to replace that 35 goal scorer, and that's, I think, what's important.
And if I could just add to that, I think what's important too is and we talked, Irwin talked about 3-year plans and stuff like that. It's important to have balance in your organization. You can plan for it, but when it comes to the draft, it's sometimes you're not able to do that. But what's in need one year may not be in need another, and you don't know how the players are going to develop. So sometimes you have to go out and find what you need. Other times you can build within. And I think you know, you have your grocery list, and sometimes you get what you need, and you have that balance, and you hope it works out over time. But again, it's not an exact science, and it's not a perfect science. But balance is important for the draft. But if there's a good player that's on your list and you're high on him, you take the player that you're all comfortable with.
Well, I wanted to thank.
Just my last thing. There's no I in team, and I think, you know, you come back and keep saying about a coach. A coach is an important part of the team. The assistant coaches are an important part of the team. But building out the team with what we have here, and I think that's one of the big differences that we've had in Cape Breton in a long time. And that's where I get excited about, is how we're moving forward. And we'll get the right coach, but we already have, you know, a lot of the pieces already in place. And, you know, fans, stay tuned. Start getting your season seats now. And look forward to see you, you know, in August when spring training starts. Because August will be here soon.
Yeah, it will be for sure. Well, thanks to Irwin, Sylvain, and John for talking to us this afternoon. And just a reminder, fans, as Sylvain said, the draft June 6th and June 7th, and trading period opens before that. So look forward to that. In the meantime, everybody can go out and enjoy this unseasonably warm May day.